Hey fam, it's Cap. It's my intention to teach you some basics of the line strategy. This strategy is what we're going to be using in the next competition. It is a very rigid strategy, something that we're not really used to, but it is effective, and especially because the enemy team is going to be using this strategy. Think of it like it's a very cohesive, team-based strategy. Think of it like a shield wall or like tug of war. Whoever is stronger wins. The enemy team is going to be using this strategy. It's basically the strategy that all competition players use because the strength is in the cohesion of each individual piece working together for the whole. So take a moment, familiarize yourselves with the map that I have here. This is not official. This is just my rendition, and we'll get right into it. So let's start with the basics. You are assigned a specific sector, and you will know your position in the run up, and essentially that's where you're going to be no matter where you are, no matter what point you are. Squad 1 will be the northern squad, all the way down to your most southern squad, and you will fill in wherever your sector is. So if you open your map, squad leaders open your map and see, squad 1 is forming up here, you form up to their south, adjacent to them, and squad 3 forms up, and just form yourselves into a line. So let's go into the tactics here. The reason that the line works so well is because you are constantly refreshing the front. Each squad takes a sector and is constantly refreshing that line. And if you can't get, say you're unable to get up here, that's fine. You can stay back here, just keep the enemies from getting in. Keep them from getting into your sector. Say the enemy makes their way through the line and they have pushed you off and they take your outpost. And now your sector is down. The enemy now owns that sector. So all squad members, except for the squad lead, can join your adjacent squad or the closest outpost, get on that outpost, and and at least fight the incoming enemies from your sector. If you can't get all the way to where if you can't get there, stay here. Just keep the enemies from getting in behind. Your job is to keep your sector secure. So, you've pushed them back and you work your way back in here and your squad lead comes from the garrison and you get yourselves back in and push the enemy out, reestablish your OP, and put yourselves back into your sector. Defense squads will be a little bit different because they're going to be, after the neutral point is taken, they will be somewhere. Either we lose it and we're back here, or we keep it and you'll stay here. But all the aggressive squads have satchels, rockets, MGs, lots of grenades. Flank and security squads that are always kind of hanging back. So, you kind of want to, at the very least, keep yourself in a line. And if nothing else, you know, if the line bulges, that's fine. Just the objective is to just keep yourself in position, because if you run off, say you see an opening and you think, hey, I can I can run out here and run around behind. Well, that's great, but now your squad is down one or two fighters, and the enemy squad is not going, they're not going to leave. So now they have an advantage on your squad, and they have the opportunity to now break through your squad and get in behind. It is most imperative that you always stay in your zone. Also, another thing, we won't be putting up red garrisons unless the commander puts them up. Red garrisons take away manpower from the line, and you never know if they're going to work, especially if they have a line set up. They're going to have guys scattered all over the place, and garrisons in enemy territory will go hot within 100 meters, and the idea is that you stay stacked up with your battle buddies. So red garrisons are never a good idea in competition, or not never. They are not often a good idea because it takes away manpower from your formed front. That's another thing, like in competition, we are only 35v35, so each individual person has a very specific role. Whether you're a support or engineer or a squad leader, assault, MG, whatever your role is, you you are extremely important to your sector. There is no one to fill your role. There is going to be the equivalent enemy on the other side pushing you constantly. And if you don't fight back and continue to push them away, and you decide instead that you're going to come down here and try to loop around behind them, well, you've just given them an opportunity to push past you. So, because of the smaller teams and because the enemy will be using this strategy, I think that we should give it a try, you know, put a little discipline into the game, try to work cohesively with your adjacent squad, and and maybe we can get a win in. I know that we're coming off of 2 weeks of losses, but you know, you're here because you're committed to the commitment that we made. And I appreciate all of you for, giving it an effort, even though sometimes it can be annoying and frustrating. And I know that because competitions are not, they're not the same as the type of play that we like. We like to have the immersive, do what makes sense type of play. But even though this type of strategy may seem counterintuitive, we have run up against it twice now, and both times the enemy team has slowly but surely pressed their line forward and pushed us out every time. So, I guess to wrap it up here, I don't expect that we're just going to win every game. Competition is difficult, to be sure, and some of the guys that we're going up against, they practice constantly, and I know the majority of us are just casual. You just want to play and have an immersive experience and just play a game. Some of these people are not. They are playing to win the game, and they use broken parts of the game against you to win. And so if we don't win, it's not a big deal. Just assume they are playing a different game than what you're playing. The way that competitions, in theory, it's great. You get together a whole bunch of good players, but in practice, it's just a bunch of people who have found all of the secrets and all of the exploits and have found a way to punish you more than you are punishing them. Um, I just feel like we can do this. The line can work. There was a couple times in the last match that I saw, I think even without us realizing that we were getting up into a line or some form of a line, and I know that Lunar and Knockout and I, we had a good example here real quick. Enemies, say, let's see, we'll come down here. Say the enemies are here, and we were back here. We fought for a good long while, trying to push them out, and eventually we did make our way further and further in as we got closer OPs until we had pushed them out of their grid, and there was a trench here, and we jumped in the trench and we took the trench. And I mean, I know that that's a very small scenario, but we pushed them out and we extended our grid by a certain amount and pushed them off their onto their back foot. So that's a small example, but I know that it's possible. I know that I have seen us work this type of strategy unknowingly in the past, but with a more flexible mindset. This is more of a rigid strategy. We are to keep to our grid and protect it viciously. If you have to hide in a bush, if you have to, tuck into a corner, hide your OPs, super sneaky, do whatever you can to keep your zone secure. And if you can't get back to where you're supposed to be, then try to cover the gap from where you're at. Alright, guys. Have a good one, and I'll catch you later.